what is money laundering? In Massachusetts, money laundering is actually fairly new. Being a commonwealth that is in some places older than the United States, Massachusetts has a lot of laws that are part of what they call common law that are ancient. And the money laundering statute came about when gambling was legalized to some degree in 2011. So it's a fairly new statute, and it is unique in that it mimics parts of federal law, and the last part of it attempts to codify what I think is federal case law, but is not federal statutory law. And that matters, although it's kind of academic. I'll try to find a way to explain it that doesn't sound super boring, but really what you need to know is that they passed it with the gambling legislation because they worried people were going to use the casinos to launder money. Not an unreasonable thing to be concerned about, I guess. It's, in terms of ways to launder money, it's one of the more popular ones. That's a good overview for where it comes from. I do think that it's worth keeping in mind that it's so young that it's not broadly prosecuted in Massachusetts, at least in my experience. And so it's something the courts are still figuring out. There really aren't a lot. I think there may be at this point 2 cases from the Supreme Judicial Court interpreting the statute. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in the next episode. I'm Chris O'Brien, the law offices of Matthew W. Peterson. Takeaways from this episode 1 of this multi-series. I would say money laundering is a fairly new statute, especially by Massachusetts standards. And really what it is intended to do is prevent folks from taking the proceeds of criminal activity and running them into the formalized banking system so that it is harder to determine where they came from or determine their unlawful origins. We'll get into that a little bit more when we get into the nitty-gritty of the statute in the next episode.